I guess on that same topic, as far as like, he's saying which motor you're gonna build, and obviously speaking of the Vortex, which are centrifugal chargers, is there a reason why you may choose a centrifugal charger motor versus like a screw or a Whipple for normal people, or
For sure.
or turbo, so to speak?
So I'm the perfect person to ask this question to because I have all forms of boosted LSs. My truck is turboed. This has a centrifugal, and my 350Z has a root style supercharger.
Yeah.
So the reason why this has a centrifugal is because it comes to packaging. If you look at vets, when it comes to twin turbo on them, like you can't. It no longer becomes a daily. Like you can't really street drive it. I drive this car to the gym. I drove it to SoCal. I take my granny to church in it. Like it's a full functioning street car. It has subs in it. AC works, everything. So in that aspect, I didn't want to take away from it being a street car just because I wanted to chase some power.
Right.
Like if the goal for me was like, all right, I want to be 900 max or 850 or whatever, I'm going to do it with a centrifugal. Big enough centrifugal will do that, and it comes in a smaller packaging. The moment you try to make 800 out of a turbo, it's like, yeah, you're going to make that power, you're going to make that torque, but now your radiator setup's stupid. The car wants to overheat, you lose your AC, the exhaust gets ran off funky. So in that aspect, the supercharger makes more sense to do. And then when it comes to root style on vets, it's like where the window cowl is, it gets kind of hard. Like you can't feel a LSA without cutting it.
Yeah.
You got Magnuson that makes like their heartbeat and smaller frame superchargers that are specific to vets, but the packaging is different. Like I would either do a centrifugal or a root style on a vet. But when it comes to like, if you're like, all right, I want to make 1,000 plus, I'm obviously gonna tell you to go with the turbo.
Yeah.
You can do that with like a Whipple, but then you start running to like, all right, you're putting a lot of load on the crank and the pulleys and stuff. Like when superchargers are making 1,000 horsepower, you got to remember that has to run off that crank. You see snouts and stuff break.
Yep.
Like it's a load. Like if it's gonna make a motor making 1,200 horsepower at the tires, that belt is gonna fill that load. It doesn't, just because it's a belt doesn't mean like, all right, it still has a 600 horsepower load or tension on it. Like nah, that thing fills that added power to it. That's why you see snouts and all that stuff breaking. So a turbo is free power essentially. It doesn't require anything. It just uses the exhaust flow to make that power.
Right.
But if it's a car you like, all right, I'm about to just run this, I'm gonna let it cool off, then I'm going turbo all the way. For a max effort build, I'm going turbo. If your goal is 1,000, you can get away with it with a like a F1X Big Dad. Like they got people making like 1,400 on them. But for me, it's like I've had so many nightmares with the VQ being supercharged where it's like belts become an issue. Luckily, A&A has like probably the best bracket setup to where I've never thrown a belt on this car.
Okay.
And I'm still on the 6 rib. A lot of people go to 8 rib and stuff like that. Like my 350 has a 8 rib with the LSA setup. But this car, I still run 6 rib and I'm making 8 plus.